Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, Amanda Head, reporting to you from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and my co-host and Just the News editor-in-chief, John Solomon, is out on assignment tonight. Well, if you wanted to finish out the week on a good note, I am sorry. It is not in the cards today because, as I told you last night, the Democrats and the media are still attempting to frame themselves as the victims in the current news cycle, only a little over a week after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The shamelessness knows no bounds. For example, Stephen Colbert went on air last night and claimed, "We are all Jimmy Kimmel." And it would have been at least an attempt at a unifying moment if he had said that about Charlie after his assassination. But no, that kind of statement is reserved for left-wing pundits disguising themselves as comedians who get taken off the air for saying outrageous and untrue things. That is the state of the left in America today. So to that end, the House held a vote here on Capitol Hill today to officially condemn Charlie Kirk's assassination, to honor his legacy, and to denounce political violence. Pretty easy, pretty no-brainer, hey? 58 Democrats voted against it. Not only that, but this is what AOC had to say about the vote.
By choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy, instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today.
See what I mean about making themselves the victims in all of this? It makes sense because victim mentality and identity politics are the only things that the Democrats actually know how to run on. And AOC demonstrated the only other thing Democrats are able to run on too is that same speech. Watch.
We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake. Who, after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi, claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant. And accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans.
So, during a vote to officially honor Charlie Kirk and condemn his assassination, as well as to denounce political violence, AOC decided to call Charlie Kirk a racist, an anti-Semite, and a defender of political violence, none of which Charlie actually was. But what about all the evidence pointing to the alleged killer, Tyler Robinson, being radicalized by left-wing propaganda online, or that he was reportedly dating a transgender person? Well, the left still refuses to say what the motive for Charlie's assassination could have been. Let me show you what the media has been saying this week. This from MSNBC.
Haven't seen yet, though, and which hasn't been released, is a real clear-cut ideology behind this. It looks like it may be leaning towards, perhaps something related to, gay community or trans community, but I mean, there's nothing necessarily here. These young men, a lot of young men similar to this, have this nihilistic view, and they're acting out, but it's not traditional ideologies. It's some kind of blend sometimes, and nothing you can put a finger on.
Nothing you can put a finger on as to why the alleged assassin killed Charlie Kirk. It was just some kind of nebulous nihilism. Do you, our audience, believe that? Of course not. Of course not. And unfortunately, we have more examples of stuff like this from this week on CNN when Caitlin Collins interviewed Senator Ted Cruz.
We don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know.
We don't have a motive yet.
What's happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said, and I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even, we're not even arguing about the facts here.
Absolutely insufferable. Yeah, we just don't know the motive yet. I guess the evidence authorities have found so far just is not clear enough. What is clear to me is that Charlie Kirk was murdered for his political beliefs. Authorities have stated as such, and that's really all we need to know. And in the vote today, over 50 Democrats refused to condemn it. Some even hurled insults at Charlie, like AOC. All we are asking for is some honesty from the left and the media. That's the only way that we are actually going to get to healing the divide in this country. And if Democrats want to turn the temperature down in America, they are certainly doing a terrible job of it. All right, everybody, let's get to our first guest of the night. He represents the great state of Florida. Florida Congressman Randy Fine. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I wish that we had something sunnier to talk about, but I gotta say, 58 Democrats who refused to condemn political violence, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I mean, even just those things, even if you don't want to honor Charlie Kirk, those other two things, those are pretty black and white.
Well, I think today we got to see the Civil War caucus in the Democratic Party who said, well, violence is bad, but you know, you got to realize he was a pretty bad guy. What they don't understand is when you say it doesn't matter what he said, you shouldn't kill him. When the language is anything other than that, we end up where we are right now. I mean, the fact of the matter is I despise some of the people on the other side of the aisle, but I don't want any of them to be shot. And if any of them were, I wouldn't make excuses for the shooter, which is what AOC did today.
Yeah, it's repugnant, frankly. And sir, you actually were attacked by CNN for asking people on Twitter to tell you anyone in the state of Florida who works for government who celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk, because I think these people should be called out. And CNN attacked you for this. But I'm old enough to remember times when CNN has called out people or has not called out people on the left for saying disgusting things like this. Why is it such a double standard?
Well, you have to understand we're in a civilizational war between those who believe in good and evil and those who don't. Remember, these people wanted to arrest mothers speaking at school board meetings, unhappy about what was going on in their schools. They called them domestic terrorists. The left believes that they are so morally right, that they are so morally superior, that the ends justify their means. And what they need to understand is when they attacked Charlie Kirk, they didn't just attack Charlie and his family. They didn't just attack conservatism. They didn't just attack Republicans. They attacked the country. Because if we can't settle our political disputes with words, then we're going to have to settle them with guns. We've done that twice in our history. The American Revolution was a civil war between British subjects. The American Civil War was obviously a civil war. I don't want another one of these. But when you get the Civil War yes but caucus, that's the direction that they point us in.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but I know that you have been crystal clear when it comes to Democrats, and you talked about the hypocrisy, about how that is in the DNA of Democrats. They have weaponized, as you were just talking about, the DOJ against free speech activists and tried to equate them with holding employees responsible for their abhorrent statements. Sir, I'm pretty crystal clear on what the First Amendment dictates, and it doesn't cover slander, libel, or inciting violence.
Or violence. No, it doesn't at all. And that's what we have going on here. The people that I'm targeting, I'm not targeting because their speech. You have no right to a government job. You have no right to a government contract. You have no right to a government license. These are privileges. And when you use those privileges to advance attacks against the United States, which is what silencing political opponents are through violence, you have no place in civil society. And I'm proud we've already rooted out a bunch of them, and we're going to keep on going.
Good. And it seems like Florida is handling this with surgical precision when it comes to plucking people, especially out of schools. You guys, and also Texas, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas is not having it when it comes to educators spouting this garbage. How dangerous is it that there are educators in states all across this country who are saying this type of stuff, but you've got states out there who aren't doing anything about it? Thank goodness in Florida you are. There are plenty of states that aren't.
Well, it's extremely dangerous. Look, we know the motive of the shooter, contrary to what CNN might say, but we don't know how he got there. This is not someone who appears to have come from a broken home and a terrible home life. Someone who appears to have come from a good family enough that his own parents turned him in. So clearly it was outside influences that poisoned this young man's mind. And no one has more ability to do that than teachers and professors. So when we see teachers lionizing violence, again, that superior sanctimony of we are so morally right, we are so justified that violence in advance of our cause is necessary. We have to root that out, but we don't put up with that stuff in Florida. Frankly, if America was run like Florida, most of our problems would be gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir, I want to move on to some other topics because there are some good things happening in this country. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced that they're a major trade win with Taiwan. They committed to $10 billion in U.S. agriculture buys over the next 4 years. Soybeans, corn, wheat, beef. Florida is a huge agriculture state. We get so much of our nation's produce from there. Tell us about how beneficial this is going to be. It's going to boost that sector.
Well, the president's trade policies have been an unambiguous success. He has said, no longer are we going to be chumps. See, apparently the left thinks tariffs are a great idea when other countries do them, but when we do them, they're the worst idea in the world. The president said, we're done with this. We're going to open up our other countries' markets to our goods, and we saw that happen with Taiwan today. $10 billion of products, by the way, at a pretty small place. But we're seeing this over and over and over across the board with this increase in this growth, and we're just going to keep on working and making it happen, and President Trump's leading the way.
Absolutely. All right. So I want to use that to springboard to midterms because before we know it, they're going to be here. President Trump's successes, Congress's successes with the one big beautiful bill, hopefully another success with the CR. How are you feeling about midterms?
Well, I feel great because I don't think I did 81 visits in my district over the August recess. It was a crazy visit, meeting thousands of people. And what I heard is they were very happy with how things are going. They want law and order in our cities. They want fair trade deals. They don't want illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. They want the American government to be fighting for America. And I think when you look, President Trump is winning every day, and we Republicans are in Congress are helping him do that. So I am very optimistic. If we sell the working families tax cut and make clear that Democrats opposed no tax on tips. They wanted tip workers to pay taxes. They want overtime workers to pay taxes on that. They want people to pay taxes on Social Security. That's what they want. They are the party of taxing the little guy, and we were the party of reducing taxes on the little guy and making them safe to walk the streets of their neighborhoods. We're focused on Americans. They're focused on illegal immigrants and criminals. And I think when we tell that story, we're going to have a great year next year.
Absolutely. Sir, there's a cultural item that I want to get to. The Muslim mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, Abdullah Hammoud, he told a resident, there's a clip of this out there, he tells a resident that he isn't welcome in his city because he opposed naming a street after a Hezbollah supporter. So I know that you had a lot to say about this, and it's splitting parts of this country, unfortunately, like Dearborn, Michigan. Give us your take on it, sir.
Well, look, we've got a Muslim problem in America, and we have to accept that. You can find example after example after example where Muslim political leaders and their religious leaders speak and do not share American values. We have focused very hard on illegal immigration, and we have largely solved that problem of more coming in. We're now going to have to take a look at legal immigration because we cannot allow people who do not share our values, who do not want to assimilate into our society, and do not want to add value, simply want to conquer it, to take over. And that's what we've seen in Dearborn. Think about this. A Muslim said to a Christian, you are not welcome here because you do not want a street named after a terrorist. We're going to have to go after a lot of these people and make America safe for Americans. And I'm determined to do that.
Absolutely. Well, sir, you have been doing that for your constituents down in Florida and doing it for this country. And we appreciate you so much being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Next, Dr. Ben Carson is going to join me to talk about how we heal the nation after Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's next.
Hey, folks, if you're a homeowner like me, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is their target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and boom, just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. And that's when the problems begin because they start taking out loans using your equity and even sell your property. And you're not even going to find out it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice months later. That's a nightmare, right? So when's the last time you checked on your home title? Well, if you're like me, the answer is never, right? You need to do something about that right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code JTN at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes that might happen, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's a good deal. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Go to HometitleLock.com and use the promo code JTN. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code JTN.